I used to believe that love meant giving everything, that if I tried hard enough, loved deep enough, and adjusted myself enough, maybe, just maybe, they'd finally stay, they'd finally see me, choose me. Love me the way I needed to be loved. At first, it felt magical. The connection, the attention, the promises. She used to say I was everything she ever wanted, and for a while I believed it too, but little by little I started shrinking. I stopped speaking up. I stopped asking for things. I laughed at jokes that weren't funny. I agreed to things I didn't want. I gave, and when I felt empty, I told myself, this is what love is. This is how it works. But one night, I still remember the exact night. I was brushing my teeth, staring at the mirror, and I realized I didn't recognize the person looking back at me. He looked exhausted, not just physically, but emotionally, spiritually, like someone who had spent too long trying to become someone else just to be loved. And that was the moment something cracked open in me. I didn't want to disappear in the name of love. I didn't want to keep calling it connection when it was really desperation, because real love shouldn't feel like you're slowly erasing yourself to stay close to someone. It shouldn't feel like you're afraid of being alone more than you're excited about being together. That night, I asked myself something I had never asked before. If this is love, then why do I feel so empty? And that question was the beginning of everything. It didn't start off as toxic. It never does. She was charming, attentive, full of life. She'd send me long texts in the morning, leave notes on my desk, call me just to say she missed me. I remember thinking, finally, someone who sees me. At first, I felt special, chosen. She wanted to do everything with me. She always wanted to know where I was, who I was with, what I was thinking. And I mistook that for love, for devotion, for passion. But it wasn't long before I noticed things shifting. I stopped going to the gym because she got upset when I wasn't available. I turned down friends, invitations, just to avoid the drama. Every time I made a decision for myself, she'd find a way to twist it into something selfish. And when I tried to talk about how I felt, she'd cry hard. She'd say, I guess you don't love me anymore, or maybe I'm just too much for you. And I'd fold every time. I'd apologize, even when I wasn't sure what I did wrong, because the last thing I wanted was to hurt her or lose her. But slowly, I was losing myself. I became addicted to making her happy because her mood determined mine. I walked on eggshells, anticipating her reactions, managing her emotions before she even spoke. And every time I felt resentment building inside, I told myself, this is just what love takes. Love is hard work, right? But deep down, something felt off. It was like I was stuck in a loop where no matter how much I gave, it was never enough. And if I ever tried to ask for something, time, space, support, it became a battle, a guilt trip, a storm of tears or silence. I didn't know it at the time, but I was caught in a web. One spun from fear of abandonment, codependency, and emotional hunger. And the scariest part, I thought all of it was normal. Until one day, a friend looked me in the eyes and asked, are you happy, or are you just surviving this relationship? That question haunted me, because for the first time I realized I hadn't been happy in a long time. I'd just been holding on, hoping things would change, hoping love would be enough. But love isn't supposed to be a survival tactic. For the longest time, I thought something was just broken inside me. Like I missed the manual for how to feel safe in love, how to trust, how to not spiral when someone took too long to reply. But then I learned something that completely shifted everything. I wasn't born this way. I was trained to feel unsafe. You see, abandonment issues don't come out of nowhere. They're usually planted early, quietly, subtly, like seeds in childhood. When I looked back, I realized the signs had been there all along. My parents weren't abusive, but they were emotionally absent. Busy, distant, stressed. And every time I cried or needed comfort, I was met with silence or told to get over it. So I learned not to cry. I learned to minimize my needs. I learned that love came with conditions, that I had to be useful, easy, quiet, good, to be loved at all. And this is what psychologists call an insecure attachment style. When a child's emotional needs aren't met consistently, not necessarily from cruelty, but from neglect, emotional unavailability, or unpredictability, they develop a belief that the world is unsafe, that people leave, that I must be the problem. According to attachment theory, these early relationships become our blueprint for adult ones. What you learn in childhood gets wired into your nervous system. You start to expect inconsistency. You expect to be left. And so, even in good relationships, you become hyper-vigilant. You check for signs of rejection before they happen. You cling too tightly or withdraw too quickly. You either overgive or shut down completely. Not because you're dramatic, but because your body learned that love is dangerous. It's called an internal working model, a kind of silent rule book your brain follows to predict how relationships will go. And if you grew up with rejection, unpredictability, or emotional absence, your model might be, people leave. I have to earn love. I can't be vulnerable or I'll get hurt. This isn't just about childhood, though. Even in adulthood, trauma reinforces the wound. Like when I got cheated on in my 20s, or when I was ghosted after opening up for the first time in years. Every abandonment I experienced confirmed the fear I already carried. It became a loop. Fear to cling or withdraw to relationship breaks to fear grows stronger. And here's the hardest part. When you have abandonment wounds, you don't just fear being left. You fear being fully seen. Because if someone truly sees you, your needs, your messiness, your fears, they'll leave. That's the story your brain tells, even if it's not true. But here's what I know now. The wound wasn't my fault. It was just unhealed. And like any wound, it started to fester the longer I pretended it wasn't there. Understanding this changed everything. Because once I knew why I reacted the way I did, I could finally begin to respond differently. No one ever taught me how to feel safe with love. But I've been learning, slowly, gently, imperfectly. It didn't start with a grand realization. It started with little shifts, tiny acts that felt unfamiliar at first, but slowly began to rewrite the story I'd been carrying my whole life. Here's what I've been doing to heal. 1. I started naming the wound out loud. I stopped pretending I was just too sensitive. Instead, I started saying, this fear I feel, it's not weakness, it's an abandonment wound, it makes sense. Giving it a name helped me stop blaming myself. It gave the pain a place, and that's where healing begins. 2. I paused before reacting. When someone didn't reply right away, when I felt that tightening in my chest, instead of texting them again, I'd whisper to myself, this panic isn't about them, it's about a part of me that's afraid. That one pause? It created space enough for me to choose instead of react. 3. I kept a reality log. I made a list of times people did show up. When friends stayed, when someone checked in, when love was steady and real. Because when you have abandonment issues, your brain filters only the pain. You forget the moments you were safe. This log reminded me not everyone leaves. 4. I practiced staying when I wanted to run. Intimacy used to terrify me. Whenever someone got too close, I'd pull away, thinking they'd leave, so I might as well leave first. But now, I sit with the discomfort. I let people see me, little by little. It's terrifying, and it's healing. 5. I created a self-soothe ritual. At night, when the panic crept in, I'd light a candle, wrap myself in a blanket, and say, I'm not alone, I have me. I'd write letters to the younger version of me who felt so invisible. And I'd tell him, you matter, you were never the problem. 6. I stopped chasing people who weren't choosing me. This was the hardest. But healing meant I had to stop begging for crumbs of love. I had to learn that peace feels boring only when chaos has been your normal. Now, I only open my heart where it feels safe. Not perfect, but present, respectful, real. 7. I sought therapy. Not because I was broken, but because I was brave enough to want better. My therapist didn't fix me. She helped me understand why I reacted the way I did. and how to rewrite the patterns that kept me stuck. 8. I redefined what love feels like. I used to think love was passion, drama, highs and lows. But now I know real love feels calm. It feels like being seen without needing to perform. Like someone holding space for your fear, not running from it. 9. I reconnected with myself. I took myself out on solo walks, said no when something didn't feel right, chose people who didn't need me to shrink. And slowly, I stopped asking, will they stay? And started asking, do I feel safe to be me here? 10. I forgave myself for not knowing sooner. For all the times I begged. For all the times I clung. For all the times I tried to be less, just to be loved more. I gave myself grace. Because survival is not shameful. And healing doesn't mean perfection. It means presence.
For most of my life, I just wanted someone to stay, to look at all the mess in me and say, I'm not going anywhere. But every time someone left, I didn't just grieve them. I grieved at every version of me that never felt enough to be chosen. And that's what abandonment issues do. They make you believe love is something you must earn, that your softness is a liability, that if you need too much, feel too deeply, ask too often, you'll lose them. So you shrink, you perform, you cling, or you push away before they can hurt you. And all the while, you're not really protecting yourself. You're replaying a wound that was never yours to carry. But here's the truth. I wish someone had told me sooner. You're not too much. Your need to feel safe, seen, and held is not a flaw. It's a human need. And the wound isn't shameful. It's a response to what you never received but always deserved. I don't chase people anymore. I don't beg for love in places where it's conditional. I've learned to sit with my loneliness instead of rushing to escape it, because now I know every time I stay with myself, I heal a little more. And if you're someone who's felt that same ache, the kind that whispers, you're always the one left behind, let me tell you, you're not broken. You're not hard to love. You're just carrying a story that needs to be heard, held, and slowly rewritten. So start here. Start now. Start by telling that younger version of you, I won't leave. Not again. Because that's how healing begins. If this story resonates with you, I'd love to hear your thoughts in the comments. What part of this message did you need most today? And don't forget to like, subscribe, and turn on the bell so you